What is Patrick Mahomes going to do if he's limping throughout the Super Bowl?
You'd probably see a similar game plan to what you saw with the Bengals and then what you saw against the Jags when he came back and was significantly more impaired in terms of how he could move. It just comes down to being able to win from the pocket. And one of my favorite things about what's happened in the last couple of weeks is people that haven't really watched Mahomes. A lot of people, they watch red zone Mahomes. So they see the flips, they see he's standing on his head and he kicks the ball to someone or whatever. And so people assume that that's what makes Mahomes great. But when you actually sit down and you chart his snaps and you watch every single snap, what makes him great is his unbelievable consistency in pre-snap and post-snap reads, his ability to find the right receiver, make an accurate throw from any platform, time after time after time. The heroic stuff that makes all the highlights, it's awesome to watch, and he does it multiple times a game, but he doesn't need it to win anymore. And he hasn't for a couple of years. And so what I'm guessing is if he aggravates it and he's limping around a lot more, I think what you're going to see is them kind of adjust their game plan in terms of calling out certain shot plays to try to have MVS stretch the field. And then it's just going to be about the matter of reading the defense. You do motion, they run in man, they run in zone. What do they think they are? And he's going to be picking his spots more pre-snap as opposed to running around and trying to create that second play. Easier said than done. A lot of monsters on that defensive line. He's probably relieved they can't line them all up at once.
We saw against the Bengals what Kansas City did. When he was limping, he was running the ball. He is not going to be able to run against these beasts because they're ranked 5th in rushing defense throughout the league. They like to clog up the middle. They have a bunch of guys that can do that. He is going to have to air out the ball, and he's got a ton of guys that he is going to have to face in the secondary. James Bradbury, Darius Slay, Gardner Johnson, who's been one of the best corners in the league all season long. He is going to have problems, and you don't know if Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be healthy. This defense is so good. If Patrick Mahomes somehow pulls this out of his rear end, it would be one of the greatest games I've seen a quarterback play against one of the better defenses we've seen in a very long time.
The interesting thing, and I actually wrote about this earlier this week, is when you look at that Philly defense, I would say we don't know how good they are. We know they're great on paper. We also know that Jared Goff and Dak Prescott and Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love tore them up. And those are the best quarterbacks they played all year. Yes, they really did beat up on Tyler Heineke, and they beat up on a bunch of quarterbacks that really aren't very good. They played 5 offenses that were, in terms of EPA, even in the top 12. And of those, all of them moved the ball in them except Trevor Lawrence, who could not stop fumbling the ball for some reason. Now, part of that was because he was getting smacked around all day, which goes towards your point. The thing that interests me with the Eagles is when I watch Dak Prescott just scorch that defense, it made me wonder, we haven't seen them tested. Now, sometimes being really great against bad teams means you're going to be really great against good teams too. And I think that's probably more likely because of the names they have and the talent they have. But when I see some of the ways that they have been beat, I think there's a lot of reliance on overwhelming individual talent there and overwhelming talent up front. And that wins the vast majority of the time. I don't know if that wins necessarily against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. That's why they were able to put up 40 plus on the Niners earlier this year. It's not enough just to have a great pass rush. You've got to have a cohesive game plan in place too. That would be their shot to succeed against so much talent.
One X factor on both sides of the ball for the Chiefs to win this game.
The biggest X factor with the Chiefs defense, it's going to be whether or not they have a plan to not get just destroyed in the run game. Their linebackers, this is it. This is the game of their life. They've struggled to stop the ball on the ground. I think that's going to be the X factor there. Otherwise, you end up in a game where the Eagles are going to completely dictate the tempo. They're also going to be able to run play action, some of those shot plays that they love to do. And it's going to be easy for them because the Chiefs are going to have to crowd the line of scrimmage completely. Can you get them in bad situations? Can you get them in 3rd and 6 plus, force them to throw the ball a little bit more? When the Chiefs are on the offensive side of the ball, the obvious is Mahomes. How good is the ankle? Is he at 70% or is he at 90%? That's an easy one. So I'll say instead, let's go with Orlando Brown Jr. He's been up and down, above average overall, but not great. This is his opportunity. He wanted to be the highest paid tackle in the league this year. The Chiefs didn't do it. They franchise tagged him. This game, this is his opportunity. Regardless, he had a really bad start to the year. Playing on a bad knee, but he played very poorly on it. If he plays a great game, that allows him to walk into negotiations the offseason. Look what I did. You don't win a Super Bowl without me. They've got a really good interior line. If Brown can play a good game, that gives them a shot. Whereas if he plays a poor game, it makes it a lot tougher and makes for Chiefs fans reliving what happened against Tampa.